Oh, it was being recorded.
It gave me extension, so a temporary extension. So I'll talk to them tomorrow and get it extended so I can keep it.
Great.
So welcome everybody that's here. I'm Steve Cushman. I'm the president of Shoreline Eldercare Alliance, and we're glad to present Veterans Aid and Attendance Benefits with Joan Reed Wilson. Joan is the managing partner of RWC LLC, attorneys and counselors at law. She practices in the areas of real estate, elder law, Medicaid planning, conservatorships, probate, and trust administration. She's admitted to practice in Connecticut and California. She's the current president-elect of the Connecticut chapter of the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys and an active member of the elder law section of the Connecticut Bar. Accredited with the Plan of Connecticut for pooled trusts and with the Veterans Administration to assist clients with obtaining aid and attendance benefits for long-term care. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Joan and let her take things over. I'm going to mute myself, and anyone else, if you could mute, that would be great so that we don't interrupt Joan's conversation with us. Okay.
Thank you. I do have a PowerPoint. I don't know if I'm listed as a host, if I can share. Yeah. I have the green button saying I can share. Oh no.
Yeah, I have share content enabled, so you should be able to open it.
There's host disabled participant screen sharing. I think if you make me a co-host. Okay.
Try now.
Host now. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Excellent. Let's see. Okay. So thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. Like Steve said, I am an elder law attorney and I help clients figure out what type of care they might need if they're recently diagnosed or they're helping a loved one who has some healthcare issues, figure out where they're going to get the care they need. There's a lot of different places and not every single place is the right place for everybody. So we kind of help people through that part of it. But then we also help people figure out how they're going to pay for it. So today's presentation is going to be about aid and attendance. That's one of the benefits that we look at and we help people qualify for if they meet the qualifications. So just because I have to make sure everybody's aware that this does not create a legal relationship. I have to do this for my liability insurance purposes. My disclaimer. So I wanted to start off with just kind of giving a big picture of the cost of care, so everybody understands why it's so important to review and qualify for as many benefits as you possibly can. Right now, the cost of long-term care in Connecticut, the average monthly cost for a skilled nursing home is $14,060. And that's obviously an exact figure because every year the state compiles all the information of how much the nursing homes charge, and they come up with this average. It's important in Medicaid planning process that we know what the average is. So that is published by the state every July. So obviously, if it's an average, there's certain nursing homes that are going to be more than that. There's certain nursing homes that are going to be less than that. And that's the private pay rate. The assisted living memory care, I kind of just gave a range. This is just based on my own knowledge and information. I didn't pull this from any study or anything, but on average, they're range from about $4,500 to $9,000 a month. And then for home care, if you just need somebody to come into the house and help you with certain things, on average, it's about $25 per hour. And if you need somebody to be there 24/7, it's about $7,000 per month. So obviously, most, if not all of these figures are higher than most people's monthly income. Every once in a while, we have somebody who has a really good pension and they might be able to afford that lower end assisted living just with their income alone. But pretty much most everybody, if they're going to have to pay for this level of care, they're dipping into their savings to be able to afford it. So the veterans aid and attendance is one of the benefits that we look at to see if the person who needs the care can qualify for to help pay for that level of care that they need. It's similar in some ways to Medicaid Title 19, which you might know more about, but it's also very different in some ways. It is a monthly stipend that gets deposited into the approved applicant's bank account. It doesn't get paid directly to a home care agency or to a nursing home. So the money comes into the account and the person who's receiving it can use it for whatever they want. But in order to actually qualify, you have to have a need for assistance with some activities of daily living or be bedbound or in a nursing home. So generally the way to qualify is because you have some health care needs and health care costs. So that's usually what people end up using the stipend for. One of the things that's very different with aid and attendance as opposed to Medicaid or Title 19 is any benefit that you receive from the VA does not need to be paid back. So that's a nice feature of it. And the care needs that the person has does not necessarily have to be connected to their service as a veteran. So there are a lot of different veterans benefits. The one that we usually help people with, and I'm talking about today, is the aid and attendance, which we're usually helping our clients who are over 65 with that. And so, in years past, the veteran served in World War II. Now we're seeing more Korean War and Vietnam War veterans. But it might be because they need assistance because they have dementia. And that dementia has nothing to do with their service, and that's okay. It's non-connected service benefit. So the people who are eligible would be a veteran or a surviving spouse of a veteran, as long as the veteran served in active duty during defined wartime, which I'll go into in another slide, the exact defined war times. The veteran was not dishonorably discharged. The veteran or whoever the applicant is, either the veteran or the surviving spouse, meets certain income and asset limitations. So that I'll also go into. And then the person is 65 years or older or disabled. So like I said, most of our clients that we're helping with aid and attendance meet that 65-year-old mark because of, our focus is elder law. So, sometimes when people hear that there's a veteran benefit, they say, well, I am a veteran, so I should be able to qualify for that. And unfortunately, it's not every single veteran who qualifies for aid and attendance. It's only if you are a veteran in active duty during these defined war times. So there's other ones too, World War I, but I took those off the list because we don't really have many clients who are still alive and served in World War I. But so these are the exact dates: World War II, the Korean conflict, Vietnam. There's two different parameters for Vietnam, whether you were in Vietnam or not. And then the Gulf War, which again, I don't have many clients who served in the Gulf War. So in order to meet the requirement that you were in active duty during a defined wartime, is you have to have served at least one day in active duty during one of these periods. But you also have to have served for at least 90 days total if you were in World War II, Korea, or Vietnam era. So as long as the veteran served for at least 90 days in active duty, and one of those days fell within any of these parameters, they meet the requirements of being a a veteran who served during a defined war period. There's a slightly different test. If it's somebody who served after 1980, then you have to have served for 24 months. So it's a lot longer period. So as far as the asset limit, so that's prong one, that you are a veteran during a defined period. Then they look at your assets. And this law and the parameters that the VA looks at substantially changed in 2018. There was a big overhaul of the rules. So now the assets that they look at and the assets that you're allowed to keep if you are an applicant is based on the federal Medicaid laws. And currently this year it's $150,538. That's the total in assets that you're allowed to have in the bank. So that would be your bank accounts, investment accounts, retirement accounts, and any real estate that you have that's not your primary residence. You have to add up all that. Plus, if you're married, you have to include all of your spouse's assets. So you add up your assets, your spouse's assets, and then they also add in a factor that is equal to your annual income. So if you have $100,000 in your bank account and you have $25,000 in an IRA and you make $35,000 a year from your Social Security or your pension, that 100,000 plus the 25 in your IRA plus the 35,000 that you annually get for your income is going to put you over the asset limit. You're going to be at $160,000 and you won't qualify for the VA benefits. But importantly, they don't include the primary residence. So, anybody who owns a house here in Connecticut, they'll look at that 150 and they think, well, I don't qualify because my house is worth more than that. But that can be excluded in the calculations. So it's really just the other assets that they look at. And the annual income that they added into the calculation is part of the calculation as well. That's something new that came into effect in 2018. So it's somewhat of a complex calculation that you have to analyze carefully, because you don't want to apply if you don't qualify. If you apply and you don't qualify, then they're going to deny you the ability to reapply within a certain period of time. So you really want to make sure that you meet the requirements before you submit an application. So also in 2018, the VA instituted a look back. Previous to 2018, there was no look back for VA. So literally somebody could say, okay, I'm over asset. I'm going to take anything that I'm over and I'm going to give it to my kids, or I'm going to give it to a trust, and they could apply the next day and there would be no penalty. So VA instituted a 3-year look back now. So similar to Medicaid Title 19, but Medicaid has a 5-year look back. So it's just, you have to kind of analyze that as well. So any transfers made after October of 2018, we have to make sure that it wouldn't cause a penalty period. And what happens is if you do apply for the VA aid and attendance, and they look back in the 3-year history and they see that you did make a gift or you transferred something and you didn't receive fair market value, then they're going to assess a penalty. So it's not even just that you said, oh, I'm going to give $10,000 to my children or $20,000 to my grandchild to pay for college. It's also if you have an asset that's worth $50,000 and someone pays you 10, that's going to be considered an improper transfer. You didn't get the fair market value for it. So the look back period is really all about making sure that you didn't get rid of an asset and not receive fair market value in return. What happens is if they determine that there was what they would determine an improper transfer and you didn't get the right amount of money for this transfer, then they're going to calculate a period of time where they're not going to give you the stipend that they would otherwise give you. And the way that they calculate that is they tally up the value of the gift. So if you gave away a $50,000 car and you only got $10,000 for it, it's going to be a $40,000 gift. And so they take that $40,000 and they divide it by $2,642. Whatever that figure is, maybe it's about 15. That's the number of months that the government's going to say, okay, we're not going to give you this stipend, even though now you qualify for it. We're not going to give it to you for 15 months. So that's kind of similar now to Title 19 and Medicaid, the way that works. So the third prong, so we have the first prong is that you're a veteran or a surviving spouse of a veteran who served during active wartime. The second prong is that your assets are under the asset limit, $150,000, and you haven't given away any assets in a 3-year period to get you below that amount. And then the third prong is the income limits. And this one is probably the most complex of the calculations, because it's really based on what you're paying for healthcare needs. There is the maximum annual pension rate, which is set by the government. And then based on that, they determine how much of aid and attendance stipend you are entitled to. And the calculation includes that maximum. They subtract out what your income is. And then you can also subtract out what your healthcare expenses are that are not otherwise being paid for. So in order for most people to qualify for the maximum pension rate, you have to be paying pretty significant healthcare expenses, because you want your countable income to be nearly zero, so that when they take that maximum pension rate and they subtract your countable income, the maximum pension rate is the end result. So if we can get your countable income to close to zero, then you're going to max out on how much the VA will pay for you. So the maximum amount is just that. It's a maximum stipend. It doesn't mean that if you qualify for aid and attendance, you are going to get this amount. It also depends on how much your countable income is and how much your healthcare expenses are. So where the VA aid and attendance benefits really help people is for home care. When you're paying out of pocket to have somebody come into your house, maybe you need assistance with somebody who can help you with mobility, get up out of bed, get into the restroom, help get dressed, maybe help make meals. If you're paying somebody to do that, generally there's no other entity that's going to pay that bill. Medicare doesn't pay for that. Your health insurance doesn't pay for that. So that's out-of-pocket expense that then can be used to deduct and reduce your countable income. Or if you wanted to move to an assisted living community or a memory care community, and you're paying room and board to that community of $4,000, $5,000 per month, as long as that room and board is covering things that help you with your activities of daily living, dressing, bathing, transferring, those sorts of things, then the room and board for the assisted living or the memory care community is considered an unreimbursable health expense. And so that can reduce your countable income to below zero, and you can max out on the pension rate that the VA will provide to you. So just to give you an idea of how much the monthly pension rate is, it varies, and it depends on whether the applicant is the veteran or the surviving spouse of the veteran. And it also depends on how many dependents the applicant has. So the highest rate is if you are two veterans married to each other and you both qualify for aid and attendance, you would get $35.36 per month. That's the maximum. So, you know, if you have two veterans and they both need assistance with daily living, and, you know, maybe they each get $2,000 in Social Security income, but they move into an assisted living, which is $5,000 a month, they could get $3,500 per month from the VA. And together with their Social Security, they'd be able to afford that assisted living. So it's a good option if you're trying to move into assisted living. And then if you have the veteran is the applicant, but the veteran is married, so that spouse is considered a dependent, the veteran could get up to $2,598 per month, again, to help offset the cost of care. So if you're a veteran who doesn't have a spouse and no dependents, then you get $2,229. And then if you're the surviving spouse of a veteran who qualifies, and you have a dependent, you can get $1,761. And then if you have a surviving spouse who doesn't have any dependents, you can get a stipend of $1,433.
I will call you back.
So that's all I have to present. Does anybody have any questions?
No, it's well presented.
Thank you. Made sense?
It makes
Makes
sense.
total sense.
Thank you. Very informative.
You're welcome. Are you a veteran?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you fall within any of those defined war times?
I unfortunately do fall into the wartime thing, but I'm ruled out in terms of income and assets.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's there if people start really depleting their assets. You know, and unfortunately, there's a lot more that we can do with Medicaid and Title 19, even if people are over asset. There's more tools we have to qualify, but you know, this is a good one if you're close to that limit or under the limit, because there's no payback. So it's nice for the family to not have to worry that the VA might come after the house, you know, because somebody could still own a house and it could be a significant value, and then get this stipend to help pay for their care, and they don't have to worry about anybody leaning the house after the person passes. But sometimes one of the strategies we have is to buy a more expensive house, you know, because you can transfer those assets that are not exempt into an exempt asset.
I have a question. My name is Sheila. I was wondering if the cost of your medical insurance, like Part D, Part C, is that included or excluded from your income limit, what you pay yourself for that?
Yeah, your health insurance is one of the health costs that can reduce your countable income. So it is factored into getting that countable income as low as possible.
Okay, so we could reduce it by each month. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when we submit the application, we generally try to calculate things on a monthly basis. So we would be, because of that, you know, we would show how much is deducted for Part B and Part D, and that becomes part of it. If that's the only health expense, it's not going to be enough generally. But you know, if you're paying for a home health aide and that person is costing $1,500 a month, then tacking on the health insurance cost to that is going to help reduce the countable income if it exceeds that 1,500 and just gets you to maximize the pension.
Okay, and if you need, it's interesting because if you need the money to have a home health care aide, but you don't, you're applying to get that, but you don't have it yet, hoping to get the money for a healthcare aide, you still have to show that you're paying somebody.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
definitely a tricky part of it, because yeah, you have to show that you're paying it in order to apply. And unfortunately, sometimes they take a very long time to get approval. The other nice thing about the VA aid and attendance, it is retroactive. So if we get everything in order, we make sure that the assets are under the asset limit, the person was a qualifying veteran, and that the income is to a point where they're going to maximize their aid and attendance benefit, then we want to get that application submitted right away. But it might take the VA 6 months, 9 months, a year to come up with their approval. So in that period, who's paying for that care?
Right.
And
Right.
if you still have 150,000 in the bank and you kind of maximize the assets, then hopefully you do have enough to pay for that. Because when you get approved, you'll get a lump sum check back. But the other thing that everybody, has to keep in mind with VA is you're not going to get 100% of what you're paying the home care agency necessarily. You might need a home care agency to come in 4 days a week, 5 hours at a time, and their monthly bill to you is going to exceed what you could ever get from aid and attendance. So even though you're going to get a retroactive lump sum check back, it may not dollar for dollar put back what you've expended.
Wow. Right.
And then when there's an issue with the applicant doesn't have money, then where is it coming from? So sometimes in those cases, especially if the applicant still owns their home, we talk about, is it wise to get a reverse mortgage and pull the equity out of the house to be able to pay for that? Because there's value there that you could utilize and not ask anybody else to pay for the care needs. Some people are reluctant. They hear bad things about reverse mortgages, so they don't want to do that. Or maybe they don't own their home, maybe they're renting. So then the family might step in and pay for it with the hope and understanding that they would get paid back when that lump sum check comes in. But it definitely makes it tricky because like you said, you do have to be for it in order to even apply and qualify.
Qualified, right? Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
You did. Okay. Well, you do the best you can. Don't worry
Joan, I
about it.
have a question.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Is that Carol?
So your agency helps with the application?
Yes.
And what is the fee that you charge?
There's no fee for aid and attendance application.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wonderful. I have no agencies that charge a $500 or $800 to do the processing.
No, they're
The
not supposed to
application.
charge anything. That's one of the requirements of being accredited. If there's anything that needs to be done as far as documentation legally to get somebody to the point where they qualify, then, we might charge for those legal services, but the actual filing of the application and submitting all that information, there shouldn't be any charge.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Can I ask you something about low vision?
Yes.
Well, whatever you know about it. My husband has that,
Yep.
and I think that we're interested. Limited, it says limited vision. Does that mean he has to have the state paper that says he qualifies according to the state's rules for low vision.
Yeah, so one of the requirements here, I just pulled up the slide. Limited vision is one of the ways that you can qualify to get the aid in attendance.
Mhm.
So I don't know honestly what needs to be submitted, but I can look at that for you. I've never had to have that apply for a client for that, but that would be the first step to be able to see if you could get the extra aid and attendance benefit.
Mhm.
And beyond that, you still have to have meet all the other qualifications.
Oh. Okay, it can't just be that.
Right. These things here on the aid and attendance. So aid and attendance is a higher level of benefit that you can get through the VA. So this allows you to get that higher aid and attendance level, but you
Okay.
still have to meet the asset and the income and the veteran requirements.
Okay, in other words, you still have to need assistance with, excuse me, daily living and so on.
No, so this one, if you have the limited vision, then you don't have to qualify for any of these other things. So if you,
Okay, thank you. That's good.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
just the asset and the income that you'd have to
Yeah,
qualify
yeah.
for. Yeah.
mhm.
Do you have an email I can send you more details about limited vision if you want me to?
Actually, that would be good. That would be good. I can send you my email if I get yours.
Okay, I'll pull up this last screen because my email's here. If you want to send something to this, then I'll respond to you with specifics about
All
what
right,
you
that's
would need as proof. So that's what you're looking for, what proof you need, is that right?
yes, yes. Okay, thank you. I'll be writing that down.
Okay, were there any other questions?
Okay,
We're good. Were you able to get that email down, Elizabeth?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, I just finished. Thank you.
yep, I'm gonna stop
Thank you.
sharing.
Yeah.
okay, well, I'd like to thank everyone for attending. I'm hopefully gonna have this uploaded to our website. If I was successful in taping it, so you can view it or tell friends about it and they can view it later on. Joan, I'd like to thank you. It was a great presentation, very informative.
Mhm.
And in 2 weeks, we'll be having one on palliative care and versus hospice care. So please tune in for that one, the same time, just 2 weeks from now, and the same Zoom link and everything. Okay.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you, Joan.
Thanks, Joan. Thank you.
Take care.